Sack production is a real one of those illusion stats in the league. It's important for the players in terms of getting paid and all that.
I don't think the game's over.
Wise words from Chargers head coach Brandon Staley. Welcome into Triple Zeros. I'm your host, Josh Buckhalter. As I said, that was Chargers head coach Brandon Staley dropping some knowledge on the illusion of sacks in the NFL and how everybody gets kind of enamored with it. Now, I played that clip, which is about a week old, to get into a much larger topic because there was a few other quotes going around by NFL coaches this week that I just, one was great and not for the bright. Not say for the wrong reasons, but definitely not for the conventional reasons. And the other one was getting a lot of hot air blown at it that I think was kind of being overblown. But anyway, we'll get into that in a second because we got to talk about some football that happened on this evening. So, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers took out the Philadelphia Eagles 28-22 in a game that was much, much more disparate, much more of a blowout, much more of a beatdown. Philly looked bad. Okay, and they got 2 late touchdowns to kind of make themselves look like they were doing something. I'm sorry, late touchdown and then 2-point conversion to make themselves look like they were actually competitive in this game. But that was far from the case as Tom Brady and the Bucs have just moved on to 4-1, 5-1. This is week 6, 5-1, and the Eagles, man, are just looking like one of the bigger disappointments in the season. Now, granted, they have a new coach and all that stuff, but it just doesn't seem like they're figuring anything out as they go. Usually with teams like this, you like to see some kind of progress as they move on throughout the season, but the Eagles have seemingly gotten progressively worse. And you're now, seeing a lot of people base their analysis off of what you see out of Jalen Hurts late in games. And as I was telling somebody earlier, it's a lot easier to look good late in games when you're chasing stats and the defense isn't playing a lot of the pressure packages, easy for me to say, that they play throughout the game. Hurts is a guy that was struggling on this evening with a lot of his accuracy. He was 12 of 26, 115 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. He also ran a touchdown, had 44 yards on the ground, 2 touchdowns, and had 44 yards on the ground on 10 carries. The accuracy issues were kind of surprising to me because I've seen him be a playmaker, and a lot of it wasn't even pressure related. Maybe it wasn't that he was afraid to get hit eventually, but he wasn't being pressured as bad as the throws were being thrown. He wasn't stepping into throws. He was seemingly hurrying some throws. He was sailing a lot. He was down low. It was really scattershot. And again, a lot of it was just from poor mechanics. And so you look at it and you follow the trail. You got Tua. You've got him. These are the highest two, easily the highest 2 Alabama quarterbacks in recent memory, at least. And both of them have kind of shown a propensity to get a little, I don't want to say rattled, but damn it, rattled when they get their cages shaken. And so ultimately for the Eagles, who've made a decision that, Hurts was the guy over Carson Wentz instead of moving Jalen Hurts when his stock was extremely high and trying to manage it and work it out with Carson Wentz and repairing that, whatever that was going on there. They've now put themselves in a position where they got to put up or shut up. And it's kind of tough to do that when you've not only saddled yourself with an inexperienced quarterback, but you've also saddled him with a lackluster group of weapons around him. And then you got injuries on top of that, right? It doesn't get any easier than that. The defense isn't great. Despite the fact that you tried to spend some money on positions, it still hasn't happened. Shout out to the LA Dodgers, by the way, just made their way on to the championship series as they go. They just took out the San Francisco Giants. So they'll be taking on the Atlanta Braves. Braves, go Braves. Anyway, back to the story at hand here. This game was, again, just more of a referendum on the Eagles than the 5-1 Buccaneers, just because the Eagles couldn't muster anything on a night that we knew that the Buccaneers would be without a lot of their starting secondary because they're just going through a lot of injury problems right now on that side of the ball. They were giving up a ton of yards. Again, 22 points. This game was a lot closer than it should have been, but it still wasn't close as the final score might make you believe. Anyway, aside from Hurts, you had Miles Sanders getting 9 carries and 56 yards. And the interesting thing about that is he had 1 carry in the first half. The Eagles are by far the worst team in the first half. And I also want to say this. Devontae Smith, 2 catches, 31 yards. You lost by 6 points in this game. Maybe, all right, maybe somebody should try to figure out how to manufacture some touches for Devontae Smith, because the kid's electric with the ball in his hands, but he can't do that unless, you get the ball in his hands. And I mean, there was almost zero creativity in trying to get him on the move, to get the ball, to get him off of coverage. And I don't necessarily know if it was coverage that was taking him out of it. It didn't seem like Hurts was even trying to find him. And so, again, this goes back to him being rushed and being rattled and not necessarily going through his progressions, mechanics breaking down, and all that kind of other stuff. But still, my bet slip hurt because of it. I lost. All right. And that's the real reason why we're bringing this up right now, because I had a 3-leg parlay. It was coming up beautifully. I got an AB touchdown early. I had the Bucs at the half and the Bucs for the win. That obviously would have hit. And then Devontae, because I figured, damn it, somebody got to score the touchdown. And of course, Jalen runs 2. He does throw 1, but that ends up going to tight end Zach Ertz playing for Dallas Goedert. I knew, but you know what? What's even worse is because of the Bucs secondary situation, especially at safety, I something said, hey, man, go with Ertz. But I didn't do that. I went with Devontae Smith because I felt like, that Bama to Bama connection was going to do something. Nope. Nope. Tom Brady continues to defy the odds at 44 years old, 34-42, 297 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, as the Buccaneers, again, were just moving the ball pretty much at will. There were some lulls in the middle there. But what we've seen from Tampa Bay is that they have a tendency to kind of play down to their competition. So we'll see exactly how that all plays out for them going down the stretch here, because they have some interesting games later on in the season. But for now, they can just roll on along. Leonard Fournette, 22 carries, 81 yards, 2 touchdowns. And not much from Ronald Jones, 5 carries, 20 yards. As terms of receiving, Antonio Brown once again went off on my fantasy football bench. 9 catches, 93 yards, and a touchdown to lead the team in both categories. O.J. Howard, 6 catches, 49 yards, and a touchdown, taking the place of the injured Rob Gronkowski. And Fournette added another 46 yards on 6 catches to not help round out, because you still got Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, who combined for 7 catches and 80 yards. I can do math. 70 yards. I'll figure it out. Give me time. They basically rounded up because Cameron Braid had 3 for 26. Anyway, the Bucs really don't have much to fear for quite some time. But one of the things that I saw brought up that I thought was interesting, shout out to Justice Brown for this thought, is that they're the Steelers of this season. If you remember, the Steelers got to the 11-0 start last season, and everybody was like, oh, man, Pittsburgh is back. And then they played the Washington football team. And they faltered. And we know how that all played out the rest of the season. So is that possible with the Buccaneers? Next week, they play the Chicago Bears, hopefully coming off a win against the Green Bay Packers, but we'll get to that in a second. And then after that, they go to New Orleans Saints. Washington football team, both of those games are on the road against defenses that can show up, don't always show up. You still got to face Tom Brady, and Washington in particular is looking kind of vulnerable. So at least we know the Saints can put up points with them. Washington is going to have to hold to make that into a slugfest. They better pray it rains. Then they go to the Giants, they bring the Giants to Tampa, and then take on the Colts. Maybe the Colts defense gives them some go. Carson Wentz can certainly put up the points, but they don't have the weapons that Tampa Bay does, and I think that ultimately wins out. Then they go to the Falcons. Then they take on the Bills in Tampa. That game is going to be a one to watch, which will probably mean it'll be a disappointment. December 12th, so mark that one on your calendars, between Josh Allen and Tom Brady in what could be a battle for the MVP. Then they go and host the Saints, on to the Panthers. Like, there's one that you might have some worry about. Panthers, Jets, Panthers at the very back end here. They're not losing any of those 3 games unless they rest somebody, and they still might not lose unless, don't see it. Don't see it. This is tough. Tom Brady's got a cupcake. I don't know how the Super Bowl champs walked away with this, but they definitely pulled it off. Congratulations, because that's kudos. That's good stuff. I don't know how you ended up getting that kind of a sweetheart deal, my friend, but congratulations. Congratulations. Moving on, man, we got to talk about the big, the ugliness that came out this week, right? Washington football team under investigation, the organization, not the team itself, for all the ist words: misogynist, misogyny, racism, all the isms, whatever. You know what I'm talking about. All the bad stuff that we're not trying to do in society, and they are being under investigation for it. They are under investigation for it after numerous employees have come out and filed grievances with them. That being said, the only results that have come of this so far has been Schneider giving over control of the team day to day to his wife, which I'm still trying to figure out how that all necessarily works out in terms of him not being the guy still that's like, hey, I gave it to my kid, but I still gotta, anyway. And that's not even one that people are bringing up anymore, which is how I know how wild the situation actually really is. But out of that, Jon Gruden's emails got leaked, and in them, he routinely used all the isms in communications with Bruce Allen, who was in the front office of Washington football team. Now, on top of Gruden, who has since resigned from his position with the Vegas Raiders, I almost called it Oakland, almost did it, I didn't do it. With the Las Vegas Raiders, remember, he's only, I think, 2 years into his 10-year, 4 years? What is he? When did he sign? When did Jon Gruden sign? He signed a 10-year deal back in, oh my goodness, I'm trying to see where this is here. Because I want to get this right. What's the date? Give me a date. Yeah, okay, we're 3 years into his 10-year, $100 million deal. Ugh. He left a lot of money on the table. At first, I thought that they were going to have to pay him still somehow, figure out a good way to get it back. He gives it up because he resigned. This comes after a meeting with owner Mark Davis. We can all imagine how that meeting went. There have been players coming out on both sides of it. Some have said that this is who they thought he was, Keyshawn Johnson. Others have said that this is not who they know him to be, Charles Woodson. And honestly, these are also, it needs to be mentioned, these are 10-year-old emails as well. I'll say this. I don't know Jon Gruden. Don't know him from Adam. But if you are bold enough to use that kind of talk in work-related emails, there's not a great chance that you don't use it in personal emails. I'm not sure where to go with this, because it came out in something that had nothing to do with them. He's now out of a job because of it. He's going to be shunned from the public eye for some time. Not forever. We know how this works. But beyond that, like, it didn't even happen when he said the stuff that he said about DeMaurice Smith. We talked about that. It happened after he commented on Roger Goodell and others. And honestly, I think DeMaurice Smith that was coming because of it. I think there was some kind of punishment coming, but because he kind of got the whole panorama of it all, I think that's how you get this situation. You get this outcome. Again, 10-year-old emails that were not related to the investigation, or initially were not the subject of the investigation. That's one of those things that's like that's tricky, because you found it in something that was unrelated. It would almost feel like it shouldn't be relevant to anything, but it is, and it comes out. And listen, if you are bold enough to say it in private, or I'm sorry, not even in private, because these are, again, they're not public, but they're not exactly private either. They're not yours. They're the property of the company. Something that's very clear whenever you're working with somebody. At the time, he was working with ESPN, if I'm not mistaken. You're bold enough to do it there in your work-related emails, right? I mean, hell. And then on top of that, Adam Schefter got swept in for referring to Bruce Allen as Mr. Editor on a story about something that he said. He tried to clarify it as not being during the CBA, and he didn't want to get any kind of the language wrong in discussions with owners and this, that, and third. He tried to clarify that he would never give up editorial control to anybody, but people aren't buying it just because of the wording and how awkward it was to ever even see it. Again, this is from years ago. This was, I want to say, 2015. I'm not sure if that's even the right date, but it was years ago as well. Not nearly as long as the Gruden stuff, but it was a while. And of course, we know where this goes. You know where this is going. This is all bringing up the popular retortisms in terms of wokeism and cancel cultureism and all that crap. All of it's crap. It's all stupid. We're all dumb. This is all dumb. Just want to make sure I make that clear. The Almighty's is just looking on us like, bless your heart, yes, it did. This is painful. We're going through some things. And so all I'm just saying is, listen, time and place. You can't. You're never going to be able to dictate people's emotions and complete actions. You're never going to control that ever. Time and place. And apparently, Jon Gruden forgot time and place. He got responses, so whoever he responded to felt comfortable enough to do it back. So I don't think he was the only one. Don't think he'll be the last one. All I'm saying is, don't be surprised when you find him. Don't be surprised when you get caught. And figure that out on your own, because here we are. Here we are. These are things that have been happening. We just now have ways of finding out about it. And people keep finding out about it. And still people keep doing it. So, again, if you know this is a possibility, you know you're doing something that can be found out because you're doing it on work email stuff and all that kind of good, all that great stuff. This is probably something you should know is coming to. It's what it is. It's what it is. Lamar Jackson. They tried to say that Lamar Jackson couldn't throw. They said that he couldn't do it when the defense was, game planning on that, when they were making him throw. I know that Lamar Jackson fell down 22-9 against the Colts and proceeded to score 22 points in response to win 31-25 on Monday Night Football. I know that in that game, Lamar Jackson threw for 442 yards, 4 touchdowns. I know that he missed just 6 of his 43 passes. I know that he also had 62 yards on 14 carries on the ground. Sounds to me like that quote-unquote running back is actually a really good quarterback. And despite the evidence to the contrary, to hear anybody even go to that as a trope, as the response whenever he struggles to pass something, to find a receiver, I think is the laziest thing you could do, because you've seen him do it. We have proof of him doing it. He won the MVP doing it, and yet it still comes up. We're not going to get into why, but I'll just say we have allowed our perception of a lot of positions to change, especially on defense, where a lot of things are just malleable. You just let it happen. You understand now that tight ends don't have to block on offense. They get out and they flex and play. They can play like a receiver, right? Running backs don't have to just take a handoff. They can flex out into the slot and catch a pass, right? They can run. Saquon Barkley, when healthy, can run routes like a receiver, right? On defense, you got guys who can line up inside, outside. Linebackers who can drop back in coverage, but they can also rush the passer. You got safeties who can cover, hit, rush the passer. The only position that people don't want to fully embrace it, they keep trying to make it separate things, is quarterback. It's weird. It's really weird. It's been happening for forever. Like, this isn't new. Steve Young faced it. I'm sure Fran Tarkenton faced it. I'm sure guys before them faced it. But Lamar is, so far, the archetype. Remember, it's not prototype. Prototype is the base model. Archetype is the pinnacle. It's the Will Smith meme, right? Presenting. Here he is. It's him. There he is. Lamar. That's the archetype. That's the guy. Stop trying to find flaws and appreciate. This sounds like a LeBron conversation almost. Appreciate the greatness, man. Appreciate what you just saw. All right? They didn't get the rushing record. It's done. That's over with, thankfully. But they set a new one, and he shut up a lot of doubters, because this is a Colts team that, despite being 1-4, has a tough defense. And again, they jumped out 22-9. Didn't matter. Good for Lamar. Good for the Ravens. So back to that quote, and I'll play it in full. Let's hear the quote in full. This is Chargers head coach Brandon Staley.
Yeah, I think it's an important point. I think sack production is a real one of those illusion stats in the league. It's important for
even better, because I do this on purpose, right? I know what I'm doing. This isn't new. Let's watch head coach of the Chargers, Brandon Staley.
Yeah, I think it's an important point. I think sack production is a real one of those illusion stats in the league. It's important for the players in terms of, like, getting paid and all that, but hurries and hits is a lot more. From a data standpoint, is a lot more predictable measure of future success, okay? Because sack production can spike, where pressure production is more consistent over time. And so that's a more valuable stat to look at and what we look at. And so that's a big one for us is their hit hurry production.
And so you hear him talking about sack production. Very, very tight presentation, explanation, right? Good summarization of what it is that he looks for as a better indicator of his defensive success in getting to the quarterback than sacks. So that got a lot of praise. It was great insight. Honestly, we've heard it before because the guy we're talking about in a second actually said something similar before and people didn't really pick up on it. But then you got Packers head coach Matt LaFleur, who comes out and says, stats are for losers. I just want to win. And that's a great sentiment because I get it. I understand. I know what you mean. I understand. It makes sense in a sense. Because, sir, wins are indeed a stat. And that's fine. You're trying to listen, one thing you know about football, and you'll find out where I'm going with this in a second. They're going to make analogies. You're going to get things in. This is one that's kind of a little bit more clean and a little bit less obvious. But when you think about it, you're like, wait a minute, though. If you keep track of it, that makes it a statistic. But anyway, what he meant was he just you hear the 1-0 every week. Just wants to win the game. Semantically speaking, it just is funny to say, I don't care about stats. I just want wins. All right. Now, that got a lot of love because they were just like, yeah, he's right to the point. Yeah. Some people were liking it because it was contrary to the in-depth and overly self-aggrandizing Staley. This is how people perceived it because people are weird. Then you get the defensive coordinator from the Baltimore Ravens, Don Wink Martindale. And the first thing that he says when he's talking about Justin Herbert, who the Ravens will face this week, is that he's like one of those guys who can throw a strawberry through a spaceship. Now, I've heard my fair share of analogies in my day. I've heard some wild ones because my family's from the South, so you hear some crazy. I have never in my life heard the analogy that somebody can throw a strawberry through. I don't even know what that means. What does that even mean? Are we in space in the spaceship? Is it grounded? I'm assuming it's in space because why would we make the spaceship if it wasn't in space? Why a strawberry? Is it because the seeds are dangerous when they fly? What is happening? What is happening? And of course, Martindale's also the coach who previously said that pressures are more of an indicator than sacks because of similar reasons to what Staley said there, but didn't get much attention. He's getting attention now for that one because that is an all-time gem. He's one of those guys who can throw a strawberry through a spaceship. Figure that one out because I can't. I'm not sure what's happening. I really don't know. I'd like to know. And again, I don't dislike LaFleur. I actually like Matt LaFleur. He's a really good head coach. He figured out how to mesh a big personality with what he wants to get done with this team in the long run. And so anytime you can figure that out, man, good on you. So let's go down the rest of the list here and get our picks going. You got the Miami Dolphins at Jacksonville Jaguars. Tua's supposed to be back, I believe. If Tua plays, give me Miami. You know what? Give me Miami. No. Give me Jacksonville at home. We'll be bold in a game between 1-4 Miami and 0-5 Jacksonville. Somebody has to win, and I think Jacksonville might be tired of losing. So, I thought didn't they just beat? Guess I was wrong. Anyway, you got the Kansas City Chiefs at 2-3 taking on the Washington football team, also at 2-3. You know what that's about to be. Chiefs are just lost again. They are not above 500. This is foreign territory, and all those great narratives that you hear when teams have been good for a really long time, and then all of a sudden they might not be as good anymore. That's not the case, at least not this week. They're about to put foots up in the Washington football team. You got 401 Rams taking on the New York Giants, who may or may not have Daniel Jones back after that I can't think of the right word. that concussion that left him wobbly on the field, that disturbing imagery of seeing him wobbling off the field there and stumbling in the Cowboys game last week. We'll take on the 4-1 Rams. This one will be in New York. We'll see if Jones ends up playing. Rams are winning either way, though, so maybe the Giants just decide to go ahead and sit him out for one more week to get him healthy. Who knows? Texans. Oh, excuse me. Give me the Rams. Oh, wait. Yeah, I said that. Sorry. Discombobulated. Got to keep it moving. Texans, 1-4. At Colts, also 1-4. Give me the Texans. Give me the Texans because something about the Colts is off, and I think it might be Carson Wentz. He reminds me of a high-octane Jared Goff, who we'll talk about in a second, who's a guy who's just determined to turn the ball over, and then kind of like Hurts that we were talking about, rally and get those stats up later on and look a little bit better on in the box score, but it's not that great. On the other side, the Texans are just playing over their head despite being 1-4. They play hard for David Culley. They have no talent, and they're still in a lot of games. And Davis Mills, Mr. Neck, the newest neck sensation, is now slinging the pill. Is Tyrod back this week? Hold on. Is Tyrod back this week? Because if Tyrod's back this week, then I don't know if that really changes anything, to be honest with you, because I don't he's not back yet. And they also lost Larry Tunsil. So you know what? We're going to pivot here and go to the Colts because Colts are probably stinging from that loss to Baltimore. So we're going to go with the Colts at home over the Texans because they don't have Larry Tunsil. And Davis was going to put up a fight, but that defense is still legit in Indianapolis when all is said and done. Bengals 3-2 taking on the Detroit Lions, who are 0-5, but fight hard. Dan Campbell cried at the podium this week when talking about his team and how hard they are playing for him. The Bengals are a better team. They have a better quarterback. Joe Burrow greater than Jared Goff, who, like I said, is a low-octane Carson Wentz. So give me the Bengals in that game on the road. Bears, Packers. I'm going to try to be unbiased. Bears by 50. No? Okay, well, I'm going to say that the Packers win, but it won't be a blowout. I think the Bears managed to keep it close for long enough to make it interesting late, but then Rodgers does those typical Rodgers things. Remember the game they had him beat? He was beat. They took him out the game. They had the lead, and then he came and hobbled himself up out of the tunnel with one leg and threw a game-winning touchdown. I saw it. It hurt. It's painful. Don't want to see that again. Justin Fields making his first start in the Packers rivalry, and first game against Aaron Rodgers. I wrote for Last Word on Pro Football how this is Rodgers. Or Fields Rodgers Part 1 starts a new chapter for the Bears. And everybody responding like, it's only going to be 2 chapters. There's only going to be two parts. There's only going to be 2 parts. Yeah, I get that. I didn't say that. Like, I didn't put a number. I didn't say there's going to be how many more. It was really weird. Some of the responses you get are funny because I don't know what made them catch up on to that part, but not read the rest. Anyway, moving on. Give me the Packers. That hurts. That hurts to have to say Packers by a field goal. I think that ultimately the Bears defense which has been balling, they're going to do their thing, but the offense is just not quite there yet. They're also going to be without Damian Williams now, joining David Montgomery on the sidelines as Williams goes on the COVID list. Montgomery, again, is on IR with that knee injury. That means it's going to be up to some combination of Khalil Herbert likely starting, Ryan Nall in the backfield, and then Artavis Pierce, I believe, will be the third back. So, yikes, not great. They're going to need to try to get – and see, the thing is, the prospect of getting a lead early, means that you want to rely on the run. Do you? Do you really want to rely on the run? All right. Spending too much time in this game. Keep it moving. Packers by 3. Oh, that hurts. Chargers at the Ravens. I got to make sure I make that clear. I do not like picking that, but I got to pick it. Chargers at the Ravens. Last time that we saw this, and every time I think about this matchup, I probably think about the same one, and I don't think I've been right about it for a couple of years now, but I keep thinking about the Chargers shutting Lamar down and just having the athletes to do so in that secondary and in the linebacking core. The linebacking core has changed a bit. Secondary's changed a bit, but I think they still got the personnel to cover him, cover the receivers, or rather cover the receivers and have options to do something about him when he gets on the move. But Lamar's rolling right now. This is going to be a duel, man. Toss up. Give me the Ravens because they're at home. I want to say the Chargers, but the Ravens are at home, and I think that they can get to the Chargers a little bit now. What I will say is that it won't be any type of blowout. It'll be close. And if it becomes a shootout, then maybe the Chargers can get away with it. But if the Ravens are able to get to the scoring first and maintain their running attack, then they'll be fine. But I think the Chargers could give them a problem because Joey Bosa and those guys are legit as well. That's real. So give me Ravens at home. Narrowly, less than a field goal. Less than a field goal. So we're close here. Vikings at Panthers. Vikings. I don't like to do that, but I got to do it. Vikings. Cardinals at Browns. Give me the 5-0 Cardinals, 3-2 Browns. Oh, man. Give me the Cardinals. They're a little bit more balanced. I trust Kyler Murray in a shootout more than I trust Baker Mayfield. Even though we saw him do it, I still trust Kyler Murray more. Raiders at the Broncos. Raiders are a mess right now. Broncos are at least somewhat stable with Teddy. 3-2 Broncos. Boom. Cowboys at the Patriots. Cowboys are rolling right now. They're looking like the NFC's top 3 at least. Give me the Cowboys over the Patriots. Seahawks at Steelers. Give me the no Russ. But I'm not convinced the Steelers are that good. Give me the Steelers. I'm playing with you. Come on now. Steelers are not losing to a Geno Smith-led Seahawks team. It's just not happening. They don't have the personnel to make that happen. And then on Monday Night Football, you have the Titans and the Bills. Come on now. I like the Titans. I like Derrick Henry. And I'm probably going to be wrong because I remember this same scenario happening with, I believe, Indianapolis. But it might have been this same exact matchup. Either way it goes, I'm going to say it's going to be Buffalo, and it's not going to be particularly close when all is said and done. But we'll see how it goes because Tannehill is capable, and they do have some weapons down there in Tennessee. I've just never had the faith in them that a lot of other people have had. That's just me. I don't care. What are you going to do? Nothing. Dang it. All right. So, moving right along. Ben Simmons returned to Philadelphia unannounced, but showed up at the facility. Doc Rivers got a call that Ben was outside. I believe it was Doc Rivers got a call. Somebody got a call that Ben was outside. There was a reportedly expletive share. The F-bomb was dropped by Rivers to Simmons back in L.A. when they met, with Rivers telling Simmons that, hey, it's in your effing contract for him to show up and that they could find him. We talked about him taking note of them finding him. Like he thought he was just going to skate by not showing up. Doesn't happen anywhere. Don't know what made him think that was going to be a solution. That didn't work. So now he's back. But is he in? We talked about all the things that Joel Embiid has said. We talked about the stuff that Doc Rivers has said and not said. They're still trying to say those things that they want him, but doesn't sound like Simmons wants to be there. He's showing up because he's pulling the Marshawn Lynch. He's just showing up so he won't get fined. Ben Simmons is just showing up because he won't get fined. Don't be fooled. He doesn't want to be there. And I'm not saying it can't be repaired. I'm just saying right now, judging by all signs point to him still not wanting to participate with this group. They can say what they want to say. I still feel like they need to at least stop Joel from talking. Because every time Joel talks, he says something nice with that backhanded thing, right? Like really trying to say something positive, but the inner troll comes out and he just has to say something that kind of, like when he was talking about we want him here. And they said, like, I feel like we've adapted the team for him all these years. Like, I don't need shooting, and like so much unnecessary filler in those statements that Ben probably don't want to come back. So he's there. But is he in? He's just showing up so he won't get fined. Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving had some interesting thoughts on COVID. We've seen him share what many are describing as conspiracy theories on the handling of COVID, and he went to IG to try and to shape the narrative around him right now, and this is what he had to say.
Make these convictions yourself. Like, I gotta make these.
I keep doing that like I don't have video. Like, it's one of them things like when you get a new feature and you just haven't gotten used to it. It's not even a new feature. I just got to remember to do it. It's weird. I'll get there. We'll figure it out. It's a rolling process. We keep doing it. Here we go. Kyrie.
Make these convictions yourself. Like, I gotta make these myself. Because it's gonna continue to revolve around this and that. And, you're gonna lose out on money and you're gonna lose out on this. Like, so what? It's not about the money, baby. It's not always about the money. It's about choosing what's best for you. You think I really want to lose money?
And there you see. There he goes. There you see Kyrie Irving talking about giving his side of the story, trying to explain why he's doing what he's doing and not getting vaccinated. Again, he cannot play in home games, and the Nets have therefore shut him down until he does get vaccinated. I have shared my stance. I am a person who is pro-vaccine, but I'm also not pro making somebody do it. At the same time, I am also fully aware that a private company could do what they please. And the entity wants him to do it. He does not want to do it, which both are within their right to do what they're doing now. I think that the rest of us would probably stop paying attention to it. Because a lot of people have taken this and using this as their moral compass. And I think when you do that, you lose sight of what a moral compass actually is. It's supposed to be guiding for you. And because the fact that somebody agrees with you does not necessarily mean that you're supposed to automatically jump on with their bandwagon. We've seen Andrew Wiggins come out strongly in this situation and then turn around and get the vaccine. Kyrie's situation sounds like a guy who might be gearing himself up to do what he has to do when it finally comes down to it and actually get the vaccination, because nobody wants to surrender that much money. It's not happening. Don't see it happening. But I do understand the trepidation, and I do understand the feelings. What I will say is this. You are already being used as part of this agenda, sir. You've already done that. You've done that to yourself. You did it to yourself. So saying that you don't want to be after doing it to yourself is the most bass-ass thing I've ever seen. But Kyrie's no stranger to controversy. He's no stranger to speaking his mind. And so he'll handle it accordingly. I'm not really worried about it. Did you want to do it? Did you do it? Are you going to be there? Okay. Did you not? Are you not? You won't be? Oh, whatever. I'll tell you one thing. The Nets aren't they're about ready to move on. Kevin Durant, haven't heard much from him, but I did hear James Harden speaking on, you got to get what you got to get. Feels like with just him and KD, they can make it happen. They could make it happen. I don't disagree completely. It'd be tougher. I'm still of the volition that they should just go ahead and swap Kyrie and Ben. I'm not sure what the laws are in Philly, but you want to talk about two head cases with Joel and freaking Kyrie, man? Oh, those interviews, those press conferences would be something. And then juxtapose that with the nothing you would get out of a Kevin Durant and Ben Simmons and James Harden. Oh, please, you know what? Make that happen. Who do I have to talk to make that happen? Let me get Daryl Morey on the phone. Sean Marks. You guys got to get this swap going. All right? We are starting that train right now. Ben Simmons, Kyrie Irving, get at me. I need that to happen because it just makes so much sense that it won't happen. We know how this works. Such a waste. Such a true waste because, again, talented individuals, situations just are not conducive to them as individuals right now. It just isn't. That's okay. But they definitely are not built for this as it is. Tried to explain it away, but ultimately I think it kind of backfired on them because it didn't sound as crisp as I think he might have wanted it to. And it sounded like he was still trying. Again, the biggest takeaway for me was him saying that part about not wanting to be the what's the term that he used? Didn't want to be part of the agenda. He wasn't going to be used for the agenda. We're way past that, bud. We're way past that. That's tough, man. Tough position to be in when you're that public and you have that kind of controversial opposing viewpoint. Zaire Wade signs with the Jazz G League affiliate. That is Dwayne Wade's son, Wade Senior, older, not senior because it's not junior. Anyway, Dwayne Wade is part owner of the Jazz, and listen, we're gonna talk about it. His son might be there because there weren't many officers. That's not an interesting place. Now, I say that as a person who's a huge proponent of LiAngelo Ball landing with the Charlotte Hornets and their G League affiliate, which he's done. So I'm not knocking it. We just call it what it is. The Zaire Wade hype has not been there. He's a kid, though. And that does not mean he can't work himself into a solid NBA player. So we'll see what all comes of that. Opening night in the NBA is less than 4 days away. By the time this drops, it'll be 3 days away. Nets versus Bucks and Warriors Lakers. Oh, it's back. The NBA is back. I was telling somebody, writing for Soaring Down South was this during the offseason. It's first time doing the entire offseason and making sure that we were, that I was dedicated to writing something throughout the offseason. Woo! The lack of stuff that was there sometimes to draw from was kind of startling. you don't realize how much silence there can be in the offseason, but it's back now. We're going to see it. Give me the Nets opening night because KD and them are a little salty, and I know Giannis and them are charged up off their championship, but I think KD and them are going to be extra salty because of that, and so give me KD on the road at Milwaukee. And then the late game, Warriors versus the Lakers, the new look Lakers. Give me the new look Lakers, man. That physicality is going to be a problem for the Warriors, and if Klay Day ain't right, man, Warriors are still just a really good team, but nowhere close to a great team. So, and it's been a while since Klay been right. So we'll see what happens when he does come back. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Nets and Lakers on open night because I think that will be where we end up in the finals. Of course, we've said that the past few years that the Lakers are going to get there, and they haven't even gotten there since the bubble. And when they got to the bubble, they didn't have to go to the Clippers to get there, and then it was a distraction because it was the Heat. Nobody expected the Heat, and blah, blah, blah. All that to say this. Nets Lakers on opening night. That's going to do it for this episode of 000. Be sure to follow me on Twitter at JoshyBuck. Hit the Facebook page, Clocker Sports, website, clockersports.com. Email address is clockersports@gmail.com. And of course, you can always follow the show on Facebook and Twitter at 30spod. That's the number 3 zeros and pod. And of course, read the stuff. Last Word on Pro Football, Pimpin'AintEasy.com, Soaring Down South, and we will get back to Clocker Sports, I swear. Clocker Sports writing is coming back. I promise you it is. Until the very next time, you already know what it is.